following the horrific attack on the Christian church St. Elias in Syria by a Muslim suicide bomber. Shortly after the attack and massacre on the Druze kidnapping their daughters, there are still Druze students who fled Damascus and cannot go back to the universities. Shortly after the massacre of the Alawites in Syria, where we saw these horrific videos where they were making them walk on their knees, barking like dogs, elderly, children, executing sons and daughters in front of their parents, the minorities in Syria are very, very concerned about what's happening. Now, on contrast, mainstream media is trying to tell you that things are normal, things are looking good, but the minorities are extremely concerned. I'm going to tell you right now what is the most concerning thing right now to the people in Syria based on my conversations with actual Syrians. The horrific terrorist attack was allegedly carried by a Muslim man who is, surprise, surprise, social media is trying to hide his identity. I literally spent hours right now trying to research and find you what is the official statement by authorities and mainstream media, and you can't find it. And here's the interesting part. Whenever social media tries to hide the identity of an attacker, it means that it goes against their agenda. Whenever it goes with their agenda, they just publish it and show it all out there to the world. Doesn't matter if it's false. We've seen that many times with the war of Israel in Gaza. Hamas shoots a rocket on their own hospital and social media just go flying all over the world blaming Israel. We find out that actually it was Hamas who shot it on their own hospital. Social media is silent. Hamas is executing its own people in Gaza because they're trying to get food to eat while they're stealing the food. Social media is quiet. Gazans are being killed as they try to come and take food from American sources that are trying to give them food, and social media is all over it, trying to make it look like Israel and America is killing them. So whenever mainstream media is trying to hide the identity of a terrorist, something is very fishy. So what I found from talking to my Syrian sources is that allegedly that terrorist was a known Jawlani military operator, was driving around Damascus with a pickup truck, and he had a big speaker over trying to call everyone to convert to Islam, join that religion of peace before it's too late for them. And later on, he decided he's going to take matters to his own hands, so he grabbed a suicide vest full of C4 military-graded explosives and a weapon and walked into that church and started shooting people. He was stopped kind of at the entrance. He wasn't able to go fully inside the church because there were brave Christian men and women who jumped and went to fight him. These brave men ran at him trying to disarm him, and what he did, he thought that this is going to happen, very wicked, and he blew himself Allahu Akbar style, killing these brave innocent people that came to worship their own God and just practice their own faith in Syria. But apparently that is not safe for people to do in Syria. Now here's the interesting part. Apparently, not only that he did that, there was a team with him of 2 to 3 people that were planning to go inside with suicide vests when everybody's coming and blow themselves and killing more people. They end up fleeing, and I don't know if they caught them, didn't catch them. They're not really sharing any information about that. Again, why is that? Because it's probably going to make them look bad, and it's going to make the West maybe decide to stop sending them money. And to add to the fire, Syrian sources are saying that the government not only knew about the attack and had their people around that didn't stop the attack, and they could have stopped it. After the attack, they were very, very kind of nonchalant, not coming to try to intervene and stop the attack, leaving it on the Christian to defend themselves in this terrible massacre that befallen their community. Now, here is what I'm getting from my sources, at least, because after all, I am a Druze from Israel, but I do have relatives in Syria, and I'm talking to quite a lot of Syrians, not only Druze, Christians, Alawites, that are living in Syria, that are outside of Syria right now, and they're all sharing a very concerning message. What they're afraid of most right now is the normalization of the West with al-Jawlani, trying to push some kind of a table talks and peace negotiation between Israel to Jawlani. And why are they afraid? Because what the Syrian people are seeing is very different than what the Western people and the Western media is trying to show you. They still see Jawlani as a terrorist. After all, he has a very impressive track record of being almost in every possible position in a terrorist organization. He was a foot soldier in ISIS. He became to a commander leadership in ISIS. Then he went and jumped into Al-Qaeda. Then he went and created his own Al-Qaeda in Syria. He was actually sent to Syria by ISIS to take over Syria, which you can come and say that he actually did. He did take over Syria, and who did he use to help him take over Syria? People from ISIS and from Al-Qaeda, old colleagues of him that came. So the people in Syria are still very skeptical. They said, Jawlani haven't proved to us that he's not a terrorist anymore. Nothing on the table is showing that there's still massacre to the Alawites, to the Druze, to the Christians. They're still living in fear. They cannot leave their villages. Druze students cannot go back to university because if they do, either they're going to get killed or kidnapped and become sex slaves. Kurdish and Yazidis are still fighting for their life there. So the situation is looking very, very bad in Syria. And however, the West is still talking about let's send them money. And what makes the people in Syria very, very afraid, and we've seen that also with the people of Iran, the free people of Iran, is that the West comes, start doing the job, doesn't finish the job, jump on the first chance for ceasefire and goes out. And what happened is the local people that dared to be brave enough to come and say, hey, we don't hate the Jews. We don't want a bad life. We don't want to live under Sharia law. We want to live in a democracy. We want to change this government to make Syria a better place, to make Iran a better place. They've just exposed themselves. Now the people there, the bad guys who are hiding right now, are taking names. And when the West goes, America, Israel, when they go out of it, they're just going to go and make things worse for them. And I tell you even what, we need to be very careful. I think I said that before and I say it again. The real benchmark to a better Syria is the minorities in Syria. How are they being treated? If they have the freedom to practice their religion, to walk freely outside their house, to not fear that their daughters are going to get kidnapped and become sex slaves, then Syria is becoming better. But if not, then it's not becoming better. And right now, it seems to be that maybe it's actually getting worse than how it was with Assad. And the West is now pouring money and helping that government maybe to actually do what they're trying to do. When will we start listening to Muslims when they say what they want to do? Why are we ignoring that? Iran keeps saying death to America, death to Israel. In Syria, they keep saying death to Israel and that they want to purge the country out of anyone who is not Sunnah. Why are we not listening to them? Why are we not taking them by their word? Why are we always trying to hope that maybe it'll get better just because someone put a blazer and shaved his beard a little bit? It doesn't change him from being a terrorist. You take a very long way to prove to the world that you've changed rather than just changing your outfit. Now, here's the tricky part where we might end up, and that's what the Syrians are actually afraid of. If you look at the case of Gaza, the West have been sending Gaza money for a very long time, removing sanctions and trying to send them, and all that money was used not to build more schools, not to help the infrastructures, not to build hospitals, not to promote space programs or art. It was used to build dungeons and bunkers under the ground, torture rooms, and places that they can kidnap civilians. And it was used to orchestrate and sponsor the weapons and means of a genocide that they went and did October 7 and then kidnapped women and children and later on used their own people as human shields. And why are they doing that? Because they know. I call it the radical Muslim startup idea. What they do is they kidnap a country. They oppress that country. They control the education system. They raise jihadists. They make them super poor. And then they blame it on America and blame it on Israel, blame it on Europe, blame it on anyone but themselves. And then the West feels bad because they see these images of hungry children. So they start sending them money. Maybe we can pay for our sins and help them become good as they want to and deserve to be. And then what they do, they steal that money. They take it to themselves. They live happily ever after, living in different places around the world, keep oppressing their people. And the cycle never ends. And once in a while, they'll send a crazy attack, 9/11 style, October 7 style, start a war. They will run, hide, use their children as human shields. And the reason they do that, because they know it works on you. They know that the media is on their side. They know that the woke leftists are on their side. The Queer for Palestine and all their weirdos are on their side. So what they do is, they start promoting the death of more and more children while stealing their money. This is literally happening textbook in Gaza. And what does the West does and the media? They start falling for it. They start promoting, stop it, ceasefire. This is terrible. Give them what they want. And what are you doing by that? You're actually telling them they can do that again and again. And that vicious cycle will never start. So right now, Syria might actually be trying to imitate the case study of Gaza. Hey, it worked for them. We can do that as well. We're a bunch of radical ISIS operators who have no morals, literally monsters. What we can do is we can get really rich. These Westerners, they're so gullible. Let's kidnap this country. They did that. Let's oppress the people, kill the minorities, keep this country poor. They're doing that. And let's ask for money to help solve the problem. They're doing that, and they're getting that. And then later on, we're going to build our own army, whatever they need to, radicalize our own people to be anti-Semites and to hate the Jews, the Christians, and the world. And then let's go and attack again Israel, the West, Europe, you name it. And that is the biggest fear that people in Syria and the Middle East are just kind of looking, guys, I've seen this movie before. I've seen how it ends. It doesn't end well. Don't fall for it. And the people in Syria right now are extremely worried that the world is going to normalize relationship with Jawlani without actually, with al-Shara, without actually checking if he's really trying to make Syria great again. Everything that we're seeing right now, the massacre of the Alawites, the Druze, the Christians, there's not a single official government statement that is condemning it. There's not a single clear-cut action that is going against it. We're not seeing that. We're just seeing hush, hush, cover, cover, try to hide it, and Western media is helping them. And here comes the greatest question is, how is it that always these jihadists can trust on mainstream Western media, especially the left one? How is it? Nowadays, even the woke right. I never thought I'll say that word, woke right, but we're seeing that come with Candace Owens, Dave Smith, Tucker Carlson, all kind of half-baked potato heads intellectuals that are just, we're seeing that happening right now. So the woke right and the big chunk of the left is falling for that. I'm not saying all, there is normal people in the middle, but they're not as loud as these radicals. How do the jihadists always know they can count on them? That is a very serious question that everyone needs to ask. But anyway, I just want to bring this to your attention. The situation in Syria is far from getting better. And people in Syria, here, let me read for you. Oh, it's on my phone. A relative of mine told me that everybody in Syria is feeling right now that they're on the brinks of a civil war. They're like, the Druze in Sweden are still sending their sons to go and guard the towns. They're running low on food, barely no electricity. They're running low on supplies. They're very, very tired, but they're saying something is boiling under the ground and it's about to explode any second. We just can't let it happen. Western media, people who are watching this video, don't forget about the minorities in Syria. The Druze, the Christians, the Alawites, any minority, the peace-loving Muslims, any peace-loving human in Syria deserves better. And the little that we can do is actually support them and hold Western media and our official accountable. Hold them accountable so they don't just rug it under the table and then later on we look back in history and we say, oh my God, there was a whole genocide there. Hundreds of thousands of people died. Mass graves. Where was the West? Where was everyone? That's what happened in Syria. Not long ago. Just literally exposed maybe a few months ago. People forgot about it. People forgot about it. But we will be judged in the days to come through the books of history by our actions today. And if we allow these things to happen and take place, and if we allowed evil to take over good. One of my favorite quotes that I've seen it in the army, actually, one of my generals, when I was serving in the IDF and I was in Gaza, he had it written on his wall. He said, the only thing needed for evil to prevail is good men to do nothing. I might have missed a few words here and there, but you get the point. The only thing needed for evil to prevail is for good men and women to do nothing. Just wait, because evil is working relentlessly, and the good guys, we like to kind of think that maybe things will change for better. We've seen that before. It doesn't work. Stay safe. Don't do anything stupid. In general, see you next time.